Welcome to another Down the Rabbit Hole video. Before I get to what I wanted to talk about today, which is more about the NeGcon controller, just wanted to give a really big thank you to Mamemeister. If you may remember on my previous video, I had done a little answer to something he was posing on his Friday Waffle. He does this weekly show every Friday night where he just talks about gaming stuff. He was saying how he'd like asteroids to be on the Vectrex, and I threw together a little video showing I don't think it is possible, but maybe I'm wrong. And unbeknownst to me, in the most recent Friday Waffle, just before this weekend, Mamemeister gave me a shout out, which is super nice of him, and I just wanted to say thank you. That's very gracious. My subscribers have even gone up, which is just amazing. And as you say, Mamemeister, in sort of the YouTube world, little channels like mine definitely appreciate any little boost we get from bigger channels such as yours, as you yourself remember when you were a little channel too. So really big thank you. Very much appreciate it. Didn't expect it, but I really am very glad that you did. And for anybody who's new to my channel, I talk a bit about well, video games and a bit about Star Wars and even a bit about anime, because I don't get the anime thing, but now that I've been around for a while, I thought, let's watch some of that stuff. So I hope if you like what you see that you'll stick around, because I've just been enjoying doing it, and yeah, welcome. So yeah, let's get on with what I was going to talk about today, which is the NeGcon controller. I was a little tricky with the first video I did about this, because I was talking more about the eBay packaging on it. But I'll put a link to that video where I first opened this up. And I've done another video talking about games where you don't use... This is a steering wheel replacement for the PlayStation 1. There are other games that use it that are not driving games, and it's really good for a lot of those types. But today, I just wanted to talk on the PlayStation 1. Let's actually do some real driving games. Now here is Gran Turismo, and this was actually the first game I used with the NeGcon. It's really improved my gameplay a lot, so I highly recommend this controller. Couple things though, you definitely want to go into the options and remap controls or check the sensitivity of the steering wheel. I find that most games can assume this will be your brakes and this will be your accelerator. I like to remap those so that actually the brake is this button and the accelerator is this button, because that way I usually just put my finger or my thumb on here like it's the foot on the gas pedal, and occasionally rock this button here for my brakes. Alright, here we are doing my race. I'm still in my Toyota Supra. I haven't actually made a lot of progress in this game, but it's not due to the lack of control for the NeGcon. In fact, that has really helped my game for Gran Turismo a lot. Now, I think the reason I'm slowly inching along in Gran Turismo is actually due to, I really like the Toyota Supra. I actually owned one back in the day. And I have a feeling I should probably, this early in the game, be not using this car, but using something that's a little more compact and sporty. But when the opportunity arose for me to drive the car that I actually really like, I just thought, oh, the heck with what makes sense. I'll just, I'll drive the Supra. So I've been slowly making my way along, constantly getting pretty low in position. But I will say, definitely the NeGcon, that has greatly increased my accuracy in this game. I mean, I can actually maintain my position, which I wasn't doing with the analog thumbsticks. I'm in 5th position, and usually when I first got Gran Turismo at this stage, I'd be lucky if I was able to see a car on the horizon. So definitely, NeGcon is a highly recommended controller for Gran Turismo and other driving games. And I'm going to try a few others here that are not as realistic simulation style, but a few more arcadey ones here. Ooh, I'm second. Okay, just reposition myself because the controller is actually in front of the screen there. I'm going to do a little Ridge Racer R4 here, just to show you what a more arcadey racer is like using this controller. I really love Ridge Racer R4. It's one of the later PlayStation games, and it has a vastly improved image to it. I mean, it's a great looking game for the time period. compared to, say, the first Ridge Racer, and I'm going to talk about that one as well in a second here. But just wanted to say, yes, with this controller, I am feeling these curves. I'm able to keep myself under control. I can make these hairpins, no problem at all. And it's a really highly recommended racing game in general. But with this controller, I mean, I'm able to concentrate on the game and also talk to you simultaneously, which is not typical of a lot of racing games. Looks great, and with this controller, feels great. Now, the Ridge Racer R4 box set not only comes with the game, but also a demo disc back here that has... what they've done is taken the original Ridge Racer and just slightly tweaked it. It now runs at 60 frames per second. It looks amazing. Let me throw that one in here. Now this demo disc actually demonstrates one of the main issues that is worth noting. I've just popped the disc in, and I'd like to try out the demo mode for Ridge Racer version 1 in the 60 frames per second mode, and that's great, except for I can't actually do anything with the NeGcon. I guess because the demo disc has a whole bunch of other games. It's got some GunCon games and some other stuff you can try out. It doesn't actually recognize the NeGcon right away. What I actually need to do here is pop in the original PlayStation controller just long enough to actually launch the game, and then I can switch back here. Now I've got the standard PlayStation 1 controller hooked up, and as you can see, I can actually choose the other stuff that's on this disc, including original Ridge Racer or the 60 frames per second mode. So let's go with that. However, once I've done this select screen, I'll put in the NeGcon. Here we are, Ridge Racer. I've just plugged the NeGcon back in, just hot swapped it out. And let's give this a try. You can see here I've got all my controls. Again, button configuration, it recognizes the NeGcon itself. As I said before, it typically will make the brake your number 2 and the accelerate the number 1. I like to swap those around, so I'm actually just going to go through my options here. And there we go. I'm going to have accelerate be number 2 and the brake be number 1. Honestly, it feels more natural for me to use that as my accelerator and then just occasionally rock my thumb back to hit the brakes that way. Let's give it a try. I don't know if this is going to come out on the camera or not, but this 60 frame per second mode looks incredible, especially when you consider the time the game came out. Now I will say each game is a little bit different than the other. Like I've set this practically the same as I've set regular Ridge Racer, and as you can see, I'm kind of spinning out of control a bit here. It takes a bit of adjusting yourself, or you could mess around with the controls a lot. In fact, there's another game coming up that I'm going to have to show you where I really had to readjust the analog buttons themselves for the accelerator. Anyway, let's concentrate on the game here. But yes, this is the first Ridge Racer game redone for this boxed release for Ridge Racer R4. And it looks amazing, this 60 frames per second mode. Hope it comes out on the camera. I'm not sure if it will. And really good with the NeGcon. Though, again, a little bit of adjusting going to have to go on with the way I'm controlling it. And also, might have to go back into the menu a little bit and make some changes. Let's try something a little different. Let's try out Wipeout XL. What I enjoy a lot about Wipeout XL is the fact that it works really well with the NeGcon, and I think later games you had to more sort of point your nose down as you were making different turns as you're banking. This game, that wasn't really a requirement, so it does work really well because you have no way of kind of leaning the nose. There are no thumbsticks on this thing. Anyway, let's give one a try here. And we're off. Now what's a little different with Wipeout, of course, is that it actually involves power-ups, which the previous games don't. And what I've done is I've remapped my control that I use for the brakes, that little rocker under my thumb, to fire my weapons and use all my power-ups. Gotcha. Oh, you got me. Again, though, really good for the controls. I found trying to make some of these corners with a standard controller really hard. With this NeGcon, it's a breeze and a great welcome change. Here's something of an obscure game. This one's called Rush Hour, and it's another racing game, but it's a little different from others. I haven't seen a game quite like this. Your camera's very high up in the sky as you're racing your cars around the track. It almost feels like you're watching little toys, and in many ways it reminds me of early electromechanical games, kind of like in, as I mentioned in my Digital Derby review, when you had physical little cars moving around a track and you would control them. That's what this game is like, and I'll show you, first of all, I'll show you some gameplay, then I'll show you a little trick that I had to do with the NeGcon here. But let's at least give one game a go here. As you can see, the camera's pretty high up, and I kind of like that about this game. It's like we're watching an old electromechanical set of toy cars moving around a track. Anyway, I'll give this a bit of gameplay, and then I'll show you what I had to do to make it work. Yeah, I really like this game. I quite enjoy the perspective change, and it does remind me, like I was talking about when in that Digital Derby game, that there was a time when this was actually a common part of the arcade experience. You're very high up and you're far away from the vehicles, and yet most games nowadays put you right into the driver's seat, which is obviously preferable, but I just like, there's a certain charm to this Rush Hour game that I haven't seen in too many other racing games on the PS1. Alright, finished first place. Now, there's something about this game that I need to point out. I wasn't doing very well at all when I first started playing it, and I couldn't figure out why, until I noticed, once again, for the NeGcon, I had to tweak some of the controls, but not the steering this time around. This time it was actually the accelerator I needed to adjust. And let me show you what I had to do. So here we are at the main menu, and at first I wasn't doing very well in Rush Hour until I discovered I have to actually go down to the controller options. Again, if you've got a NeGcon, you're going to need to do that with a lot of these games. But the problem wasn't so much the button mapping or the control. What was actually the issue was the analog settings for this maximum button lock setting. I found that the accelerator just wasn't, it was only going about that far, and then it was not going any further. So I had to tell the game, no, I want my accelerator to be even faster, or to be able to push the pedal much further down to the metal, as they say. So let's do that here. I'm just going to go down, choose max button lock, and I hit A, which is on the controller, that's this little button here. And now I can actually tell it how far and what the minimum and what the maximum are of the throw of the accelerator button. And at first, I think the default was it was thinking that was the maximum. So I had to actually go in here, set it to full on, and then hit A to set position. And now it would have let me to actually accelerate fast enough to actually win some of those races. So that's just one example of something to look out for with NeGcon games. Sometimes you need to adjust the steering, sometimes you need to adjust the length or the throw of the accelerator, or even the brakes. There we go, there is the NeGcon controller. I really love this thing. It makes a lot of driving games on the PS1 a heck of a lot more fun. The accuracy is much improved. Of course, with the caveat, sometimes you have to go into the menu and make a few changes. So I'll close the video off here. Again, welcome to all my new subscribers. Thank you very much, Mamemeister, for the shout out. That was awesome. And just to give folks a little preview here, this is not the last that we've seen of the NeGcon. It will be making another appearance later on, and here's a little preview as to why. Until next time, we'll see you down the rabbit hole.